Hello, everyone, and welcome to our ongoing conversation series here at Proposal Industry Experts, all about exactly what ChatGPT and AI tools can do to transform your everyday work. Today, we are so excited to have Javier Escartin joining us. We're going to give him a full introduction here in just a moment, but before we get fully started, what I would love to do is give you a few housekeeping tips. My name is Catherine Bennett. I'm a co-founder of Pi, and during today's session, we will have that opportunity for you to add to the conversation through the comment section in this presentation. So don't be shy. I'm monitoring comments. If you've got a question, if you've got a word of wisdom, make sure that that information gets over onto the screen and we will put it up, just like with Tracy. Tracy says, hi, excited to learn today. Tracy, we're so happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us. So without any further ado or further comment from me, I'm going to transfer this off to Ben to tell you a little bit about today's session.
Hi, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, I'm excited. So this is the third in our ChatGPT series, and today's guest is someone that we wanted to have on. Has been attending a lot of these shows and always putting really insightful comments into the chat. And really, he's a good member of our community, always bringing up the great case for uses, or sorry, the great use cases for AI in this space. And so Javier Escartin is coming with us today. He runs the company Deep RFP. They are a proposal analysis tool using machine learning and AI, and also a proposal management tool as well. So we're super happy to have him here today.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, Javier, I just want to say, like every time we do one of these episodes, I'm like, the person that I was most excited to have on, honestly, is you, because you are such a techno-positive person, and you were always thinking around AI and the use cases around it, and what we can do with the future of technology. And I think that you're really, honestly, like way more versed than the majority of the people in our community on this issue. And so I'm super interested to hear kind of your insights, especially now that it's coming out to the forefront and more people are talking about it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the whole idea of this business of Deep RFP is to do that, is to bring AI advancements to our profession, like things that are working in other sectors and that are really solving business problems in other sectors. Try to bring those to save proposal team's time and improve basically and enhance our professions, our jobs. So and thank you for the opportunity of talking this, because it's so true. Like, since ChatGPT happened, all the hype and everything, everyone is like realizing in real time, like how good was AI, because these capabilities have been around like for 2 years now, but this technology needed that version of ChatGPT to really impress people. And so maybe if you want, we can maybe clarify in a little bit what's ChatGPT, like so people get the whole context. So ChatGPT is an optimized version of large language model, which is the technology that runs behind that tool. And the thing with ChatGPT is that was optimized to sound or to write like a human, and that was the full purpose of that exercise. And so I think it's more like, I think about ChatGPT, and I think people and the peers that are watching this should approach it like that. Is that it's more like a marketing move from OpenAI and Microsoft than a real, like a tool thought to be solving one case or some business scenario. Like, of course, it's super useful because these language models are, but it's like it was trained to impress people on how to confuse people, like, oh, it seems like it's a human writing, but it's not like a deep technology to really start taking advantage from a business point of view. So I think that's important to clarify. And also this, I can keep talking. You want to say?
No, I was just about to say, like, honestly, that follows along. Like, I think every time we've had one of these sessions, you're always so quick to point out. I'd like to point out that ChatGPT is their light offering.
Yeah, because you have like this huge model that powers that basically able to understand text, parse data from that text, organize data in different formats, and then write text. But it's all about the tuning you make to that model. So in the case of ChatGPT, basically they made the model to generate different text scenarios and have persons, humans, like feedback in like ranking the results. And so it achieved this status where it sounds, it's good at producing text that seems and impress people. Basically, again, that's it. And what I don't, I always insist on that because I see many pros that are like trying to solve some of the use cases with ChatGPT, and it fails because it wasn't designed to write proposals. It wasn't designed to do part of our job, and so they are like, oh, you know what, this technology is not up to the level we need in proposals. And again, you are playing with something that wasn't intended to write proposals or manage proposals, was intended to be a chatbot that impress you. And I think it's quite impressive, like what they have achieved. And I think the numbers are on the side. So yeah, that's why I like to clarify that.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense to me. So can I ask something? So one of the things that OpenAI talks about is the kind of reinforced learning human feedback model that is ChatGPT, and for GPT 3.5, which is what it uses. Is that that's not the first time that we've used human feedback though in AI tools, is it? Or I guess what I'm asking is why is the flavor so special in ChatGPT? Why does it feel so revolutionary in the way that it talks to us? Is it just that that they've tweaked something, or?
Yeah, it's just that, and I don't think they really understand how why it's performing so good. But they basically what they did was to get this basic model, which is much more powerful, and you can do many things with that, and make it generate text and run that text, annotate that output to basically feedback to the model, like we like this more than that, and don't say this versus that, etc. But it's just that, it's they created that like a small data set that you use, you have people annotating that data and then feedback it back, and that's what the ChatGPT is. It's not, they are not doing anything, at least that is disclosed, different that we have been doing in AI, because the training part is, is fundamental in these models, and they also train the baseline model, like the models that work like that power ChatGPT. But this is like just one example of what you can do with these models if you train a subset. And yeah, and actually, just to land, because to land the conversation to the proposal space and link to this concept, I recently posted a post on LinkedIn that I was talking about the middle layer view that Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, so the company that is up behind ChatGPT and all the GPT series. And he was doing a podcast, an interview, and he was sharing his view in the middle layer. But he believes that in the future we're gonna see like only a few of these very large, powerful models, because these are very expensive to build and train. Like the GPT series, you need to pour many resources into that. So he doesn't think, and I kind of agree, that we're gonna see like many of these. Maybe we have a few, probably with all the big tech companies there, like Google probably working on theirs, IBM, etc. And then what he sees happening is like this whole middle layer of startups and companies that start tuning, not only fine-tuning the models, but tuning seriously, like they did with ChatGPT, but to solve particular scenarios. So what I see happening is at some point we will have something like ChatGPT, but you could have like a similar tool for managing and writing proposals, like that was specifically trained and annotated the data, etc., with that business scenario in mind. And then from here you can go like as niche as you wish, because it's a matter of the data you train the model with and what you annotate or not with your experts. So you could have like a model that writes proposals for government, only for government, or a model that writes proposal for government, but only in the software industry, or only for staffing services. And you could even niche down to, like, if you have maybe you're a company that have 80% of your revenue is coming from the same government agency. Probably makes sense for you, like, train a subversion of that model, and some companies going to provide this tech for you to only respond proposals to that agency.
Okay.
So this is and in that middle layer is so much value to unlock, because what they did with ChatGPT, you could do for many business scenarios.
I love this idea of being able to get it that laser focused for specific agencies, for specific geographies. And I can't imagine a more powerful assistant. Like, to be able to hack into the brains of the people that are making these decisions, find what helps you win the work, and then create an AI model that will actually generate text that appeals to those people. That's the dream, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, isn't that the dream?
Yeah. And here, and you also will have here like two sets of data. Like, you could have like the generic tool that does with the information that is public available, but then of course, if you're serious about it, you're probably gonna find someone that can ensure that your intellectual property, like at the corporate level, is protected, and then you can feed that into the model, so it doesn't only write proposals in your market, your vertical, for your agencies, but with your past proposals, internal like protected knowledge, IP, and feedback from your subject matter experts, and the whole thing. But again, this is something that is not ready now. There are companies working on this, but just talking about the future, like what this could look like in a few years, this is the view that even the OpenAI CEO shares.
Would this also, Javi, would this also have applicability to help your entire sales organization? The proposals could inform sales collateral that's developed farther upstream as well. So the AI would pertain to the entire sales cycle, including like capture management and developing messages that would resonate from that perspective. Because I'm seeing an opportunity for us to improve the way that we have consistent messaging to the folks who are purchasing throughout the entire sales cycle. And I'm just kind of curious about what you think about that.
Well, I think it's useful here to go back to the capabilities of these models. So anything that involves understanding text, like, well, understanding, we can quote that because there is a debate there, but basically being able to get the syntax and the meaning of a sentence, and then anything that it's about managing that data, that information, moving it here, putting it in this format, etc. And then anything that produces text, that could be automated up to a certain point. I think that what is, for now out of the picture is decision making, strategy, decisions, and things like that. But if you can imagine, like, is there a function in sales or proposals that requires comprehensive writing and comprehensive reading, reviewing documents? There is huge value there. And then but also, just again, to land this, because I think I don't want to get like too futuristic about this technology. So let's see what you can do today, and I always talk about is from 2 points of view. The first point of view is from the professional, like, okay, what you can do today with this. And then what I would recommend is for anyone to start playing with ChatGPT, or even the GPT models that you can easily access through the OpenAI's playground, and find ways to save time for day to day. Okay, that's something that I think everyone should do. Actually, I've put together a compilation of cases of GPT.
That's great.
Yeah, now it's only available to the subscribers of my newsletter, which is jescartin.com with a J. So it's like a small web application. I'm not sure if
you want me to go ahead and pull these up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, these are just some examples I find useful. I probably we didn't discuss this, but the people watching this, just so you have the context. Besides, being involved in this tech adventure, I've been freelancing in proposals for 5 years, more than 10 in proposals between employee as a freelance. So these are use cases I'm actually using and see, this, like, I'm a proposal manager myself, so this is where all this is coming. So, things like, well, if you are curious about this, basically it's a combination of use cases, and then you have here like examples, instructions to the prompt, like, one example of what I was trying to do here. I don't think it makes sense to go into the details of this, but basically anything that requires simplified complex text, it's very ChatGPT and the GPT models are good at doing that. If you need to, you have like these 2 paragraphs that I use pure jargon and you want it to summarize somehow or simplify so you can understand or share easily, that can be done. Anything that has to be like parsing data, and with parsing I mean extracting data and putting that data in different ways, like different formats. The example I have here is like, for example, parsing URLs, addresses from a paragraph, and then you can say like extract these URLs, but then put them in a table that includes the URL, the site name, a 30-word description, and the last update date. Probably this last parameter is a little bit flawed because of because it's not like real time connected. But you can basically do anything with the data within the text, so acronyms, names, URLs. Then also another use case I think people should and could start using now is drafting outlines quickly. Like, of course, it's not going to be final. You need to review that, but it's like breaking your blank page. So if you are blocked there, like, I don't know how to approach this section or this scope, just ask the assistant, like, draft an outline for this scope of work, and it does a very good job in, like, outlining some points you should touch about, like the introduction, what to do with quality assurance in this particular example. So that's another use case I think people could start saving time, like, today. And then, well, I'm not sure if you want to go through all this, but probably, pros can check this. Just go to.
Yeah, I mean, something you said in the but drafting the outline quickly, I saw that it had WCAG on it. And one of the comments you made previously inside our ChatGPT session number 2, you said people don't understand that, like, this can read documents for you and summarize those documents. So one of the things that I did recently is that we were bidding on a project that had a certain level of WCAG compliance. And I just asked it to read through the functional descriptions of all the product lines and then come back with a rating of how close to compliance we were to it, and then produce like a summary report that we could send to the customer in the proposal. So, I remember you're the one who gave me that idea, sort of by saying, like, look, you can take really complex documents and ask it to read.
Yeah, that's the point, and this is from the point of view of like in our day-to-day jobs. But then in that same compilation, no need for sharing it, but I've also included like a set of use cases that are intended for business leaders. Like, because this is something like your people can use, day-to-day, just to save some time here, some time there, to work easier and more efficiently. But then is the question, like, okay, how we really leverage this technology to start benefiting, like, from a business point of view. Because the same capabilities can be, of course, you're gonna need like some custom developments, like, to solve your particular use case. But the same capabilities are there for you to basically improve as a business. And so I also recommend any business leaders or proposal team leaders that are like interested in this technology to check that compilation, because it's just I'm just sharing like ideas on how you could start basically using these models to solve some of the problems. And that's what we are doing with DeepRP. With DeepRP, we are using a combination of our own models, because for some use cases, it's better you have, you don't need this powerful model for some of the things. And then we are using a combination of this with the GPT series, which we integrated with like mid last year. And so basically, and this is like the highlight of the idea I want people to get, especially business leaders, is that you can, like, if you can explain what you want to do with an RFP, or like reviewing an RFP, or looking for some data in RFP, if you can explain that to someone, in English, and that one doesn't require like huge level of expertise. Like, if you can ask for this to a junior assistant, it can be automated up to certain level. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I've been talking. I've been talking and demoing the tool and the concept to many companies now, and there are some companies out there that have like entire teams reviewing RFPs and looking for red flags and some criteria that is not a match or whatever for the no bid process, and then they meet every once every week with the senior leadership, and they go through the RFPs that have the most potential, and they decide that. So that heavy lifting of going through the RFPs line by line looking for something, that can be automated, because you can tell these models, like, not ChatGPT, but a model that works with that technology that is customized for your particular case. You can ask it, like, what, this is my list of red flags. Look for all these RFPs at the scale and give me the 5 that pass the screen, and then and you can automate that.
Javier, I remember back in like 2017, 2018, our legal team asks us to do that. And I was using like Microsoft Word macros to highlight the colors of the red flag text. It was extremely rudimentary. And to see how far we've come in, that's 6 years. Like, instead of having to code a VBasic macro into Microsoft Word, now we have AI models that could ostensibly point out those red flags. That's a massive improvement.
Yeah, and the thing here is also to understand, because with the macros and the technology we had, so until basically 2 years ago, you were limited by this idea of looking for keywords, acronyms, and that technology from the 90s, like checking a document for keywords, exact matches of a string of characters. Now this is so much powerful, because it's not about keywords, it's about meaning. So you can ask not only for looking for this acronym for this certification, but you can say, what, these are the standards of this certification. So look for something that is very similar to this. Like, conceptually, like, you could tell a colleague, like, what, read this RFP and check if there's something like, as restrictive as these standards for this certification. And so that's the power. It's like, again, we have now a tool that is able to understand complex bodies of text, parse that data, and write text. And it has limitations, of course. I've been, and many people have asked me about and this is still a limitation in the OpenAI model, is that you are limited by the length of the text you input. That you still, these models are not able still to understand like a whole document as a whole. Like, like, if you gave them like 100 pages document, and then you want the model to understand last page, taking into consideration the first and second one, it cannot manage that that bit of information. So it's limited like a few pages now, like in the context. But still, working only with paragraph and sentences, you can start doing many things.
I would love, real quick, Javi, I absolutely love this adventure into the future about what we're going to have coming down the pipeline for AI, and to understand a little bit more about what those realistic limitations look like, so that people understand what that's going to imply for their everyday life. But what I would love to come back to is, Kristen asked a really spectacular question. About the use of ChatGPT for government proposals. And this is something that I keep hearing, like, that kind of keeps coming up in our sessions. Can we use models like ChatGPT for government proposals? Because so much of that content is proprietary and confidential. It becomes part of the open source AI. So I know in the future, we're going to have maybe on-premise AI solutions that will learn from whatever our corpus of knowledge is, right? And so maybe we'll be able to avoid that in the future. But today, what do you think those risks look like?
Yeah, anyone working with anything that is classified shouldn't be uploading their RFPs anywhere. Like, you know, once you upload that to the cloud and one of these applications, you know, it's you are breaking the agreement of having that information as classified. Confidentiality and commercial confidentiality is different because you can work, you know, you can find a workaround with agreements with a third party that is managing the data. So, but if for managing classified data and for managing those proposals, it's still not ready. And you know, at some point, someone is going to find a way of like isolating that knowledge, that data within your company, but then your company service, and then communicating with these big models. I don't see, well, of course, you know, if you have the capital and you're a very big corporation, maybe you can do that. But with this same idea, like it's so expensive and so difficult to build these models, I probably going to have only a few, and those are going to run in the cloud. And you know, we will see how those markets that require extra security, cybersec, etc., are served. So, you know, technically there's no limitation, but then you have the legal requirement of what you're doing with the data. So in the case of Deep RFP, we are very open about that. Like if you go to our web page, it says like, you know, once you upload RFP, that's going to travel for, you know, servers in the US and the EU. And that's it. So don't upload anything classified.
Yeah, fair.
Advice.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
And actually, that brings up an interesting point because I've used a deep RFP during the beta phase and everything like that. But like ultimately, like did those RFPs that I sent with like the results, did that become like part of the feedback that influenced your product? Like
No,
we didn't.
Ben's disappointed.
Didn't happen. Yeah. No, we didn't. We don't train the models that are our own. We don't train them with the RP of the users. And then it's also not the same case with the large models. So you know, if you want to, you can train one of the large models through a, you know, there's a way of doing that within the OpenAI's environment, but it's not like everything you upload is taken into account for, you know, for the model, because, you know, basically those models are so big that it's not about you know, putting more data. Like if you have RFPs, new RFPs, that, you know, that's not new. What would be new, it would be you know, RFPs that go through a process, say a compliance matrix or whatever you want to obtain, and then you tag those results, like, you know what, this was bad, this was good, and then you feedback those results to the model in order for it to understand what you want, and then you iterate. And that's what they did with ChatGPT, with the objective of impressing people. But then you can, but no, it's not like that. And of course, you know, not for RFP, for deep RFP, sorry.
So do you think that, so I know that ChatGPT recently announced that they'll be going to a subscription model for the light portion, at least for the ChatGPT portion. Would you recommend to proposal professionals to obtain that license and, you know, for simplified tasks, or would you suggest to them to like maybe take one of the other GPT API add-ons that other people are developing back to?
Yeah, I haven't checked on the, you know, on the conditions of those packages. What I would really recommend, and this was already like, it already had a premium, like a paying option, is to go through the source GPT models, and you can access that. You know, you create. You know, I remember you, Ben, you had an account for like the playground you show in one of these webinars. So I would recommend people do that, because in that case, it's not free. Like you have free, like some credits, but then you have to pay for the volume you use it. For the users, like, you know, this pricing is thought to be, you know, for an API service, like to serve through the cloud, like it's going to be so inexpensive for anyone using in the day-to-day. Like for really to get expensive, you need, like, you know, connect a tool that is loading documents and downloading documents, etc. But making calls and all that. But for the peers watching to this, you know, just go to OpenAI's playground and play with those models, because then you're gonna have like more options to like to set some parameters on what you know what are doing with those models, and also because those models are like the raw version and probably gonna work best for what you're trying to do, unless what you're trying to do is to to get these results that like look like a human chatting. But if you want to do something with anything else that is not that, like if you use ChatGPT, you're gonna be using the version that is optimized to that, just to be a chatbot. But if you go to the source, you can have more, and still it's very user friendly. Like you have this kind of same setup, and you use select the models.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the playground. If y'all aren't already over there, the really cool thing, and I'm trying to find it, like I was trying to find the website to be able to pull it up, but one of the very cool things that I've noticed about it is that you can actually toggle between different voices and see the different models generating a different style of text. And I know that I don't understand all of the things that go behind the scenes with this, and I still am very much learning to appreciate the full complexity of this stuff. And it is just fascinating to see if I give it a prompt for one thing and then I change the voice to something else, it gives me a wildly different result. And sometimes it's a lot better to just toggle between those voices. So I absolutely encourage everybody to go check out. You just look up OpenAI and you go to the playground and you can go there and change the parameters and noodle around with it. And if you're really interested in this stuff, you can start figuring out what inputs will actually change the output. And I've been having a great time with it. So.
And interestingly enough, because ChatGPT and OpenAI have been offering these services now, of course, like ChatSonic, or not ChatSonic, but WriteSonic, who have their chatbot is called ChatSonic, and Jasper AI. They have now also released a free version inside their website. So there's a lot of free credits out there for you to claim if you aren't ready to commit yet to a product. But yeah, certainly some options for you to start experimenting with.
Yeah, I was on Jasper. If I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I took enough time to understand how to learn it. I thought ChatGPT was a little bit easier to just like get started with. Jasper seems really powerful, but like it didn't resonate with me because it wasn't as intuitive. So
fair. I mean, and let's be honest, like the writing that came from Jasper has certainly improved over the years. But like, I mean, I think I started with it in 2000 something.
Did you really?
Yeah, because remember I used to be a Google AdWords guy.
Oh, fair.
And so we would use that to write like SEO content, right?
Wait, okay, just a second. I used to write SEO content by hand. You're telling me there was AI that could write SEO? Javi is sitting. Everyone's laughing. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I spent like 10 years of my life manually writing SEO content. It's fine. Cool.
That was one of the markets I think Jasper went after, like that copywriting for SEO, and there are some cool uses of ChatGPT also in that space, because it's what what you want, like in those cases.
Admittedly, I would love, like sometimes, not to get into the weeds, but I would love to know how ChatGPT does certain things. So someone gave me a presentation recently talking to Catherine's point about like how ChatGPT can toggle between different voices. It can also detect different voices in text. So someone loaded up a page of text where each paragraph was written by a different person. And then ChatGPT came back and said, yeah, like this is 3 writers. It was in fact 3 writers. And I'm like, well, how is it doing that? Because like from a cursory examination, sure, I can see some differences, but I was like, I'm not 100% comfortable. And then of course I was like, why didn't you ask, like, how did you determine that it was 3 writers?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it looks like magic, but I also like to keep this very clear. It's just software. Like we're talking just software. It's a tool. If you go behind the scenes, you're gonna find like a lot of equations, a lot of data, statistics, but it solves real problems. So let's embrace it. Now that and there are things that that because of the nature of the problem, like this one detecting who was the writer of that text, that this software performs at a level that you cannot reach as a person because of the nature of the problem. So like the thing with AI and this tech revolution is that it's moving so fast that even for us startups in the space, it's difficult for us to keep up. Like every week something happens, someone releases a new thing, some breakthrough, and it's so it's like if it's like a race, you can really catch up. That's why I decided to focus this on the business, on let's bring advancements that are already working in other sectors, not like let's try to discover the last algorithm or whatever, because it's impossible to follow that without unlimited resources. But yeah, and probably some of our colleagues watching this are familiar. I've having conversations with some other startups in the space, like that people can find under the Proposal Tech Talks in my LinkedIn and also in the newsletter. And this is a shared vision, like this feeling of this is moving so fast that we need to to try to keep up, and also this understanding and this clear message that this is just software. And it's a tool, so let's don't fear it, don't think it's some entity that's trying to get over the world or whatever. It's just it's just a tool, but it's a tool that it's able to do things that we weren't able to do with technology like 2 years ago. So let's use it. Let's use it in proposal. That's what we should do. So yeah.
We hear about all this stuff about these tools and folks being really nervous about, like, when we talk about what the future could look like. Hey, we've designed an AI model that can hack your buyer, and I think there are always going to be people that have to be involved in these. But we are in a revolution of like you said, we're in we're going through a fast changing, rapid market shift. And I don't think we need to be afraid. I think there are so many opportunities for us to be able to do stuff that will actually challenge our brains instead of having to sort things like a machine does, because machines do certain things better. Machines do boring, repetitive tasks better than we do. So why not elevate who we are as people and be able to access like the more exciting parts of this work? And so I just really want to encourage everybody who's listening to the series to understand that, yeah, some of the like junky work that we always have to do, like filing things away or like doing this research manually that just makes your brain tired. You don't have to do that anymore because computers can do that, which is delightful for me. I love it.
Yeah. And also, I would like to clarify, because just in case there is no misunderstanding with this, the fact that we are focusing on as a deep RP, we are focusing on RP analysis and building proposal management assets from those RPs. Like these use cases we have discussed, like detecting red flags, checking if an RP is like too wide for one of your competitors because of whatever text you have input. Also in the building proposal management assets, like building automatically a compliance matrix that already checks the requirements and classifies, etc. That doesn't mean that this technology is not able, and there are other companies trying to, like, you're familiar with this with Marcin Quandai, that is, for example, trying to automate the content library management, like the whole idea to automate in that niche. And there are other companies that are starting working with these models to generate text in specific markets. Like, for example, in this particular case, in the UK government market. And so it's not like, just to clarify that the fact that we are not focusing on those parts of the proposal process it doesn't mean that someone else is doing some good work there. And everything is advancing at the same time. And talking about the future, it's also interesting to think that the same thing is happening in procurement. So, at some point, I think that the whole RP proposal process is going to change dramatically, because there are many things that you could save in both sides, in RP and proposals, with automation, and then you can focus people on the important things, like things that probably not going to be automated, like strategy, decision making, what to bid for, that kind of thing. But at some point, it may not make sense to go the process as we know it, because the RP proposal process is so designed because you need to involve people. But at some point, some of the steps we maybe can save them, like you don't need to even to take care of that, because they already have to, like, your employees database, and they can check the credentials there automatically, so you don't need to submit your resumes and format their resumes in the format they request in the RP. that kind of thing.
Well, I'm thinking even for past performance, because part of, like, it's really easy to skew your involvement in specific proposal or in specific projects, right? It's also really easy to kind of like, I don't know. With past performance, that's a little bit of a spicy one to say, oh yes, the customer was satisfied, but like maybe they actually weren't. I feel like there might be an opportunity for some of these tools to actually be able to help us vet, what is this customer's or what is this vendor's satisfaction rating among all the people that they've worked for, or like I can see some of these tools really being able to actually analyze. You don't think so, Ben?
No. I think that tools will definitely be able to do that. That's one of my dreams, right? Is that somehow we can use past performance to provide a score to procurement.
Reduce the risk for those
One
folks.
of the challenges is, I think that especially anyone in the tech space and possibly in the AE space knows that how the customer feels kind of varies throughout the project, right?
Yeah, so you strategize when you talk to them, right? Like,
yeah.
There's a whole new
the honeymoon period right after contract is signed, and then right before the first change request comes through, and people are like, how much extra do I need to pay for the scope that we didn't talk about clearly? Like,
well, yeah,
what I would like to see though is procurement create a scoring that reduces the cost on customers, right? Like proposals are incredibly expensive processes that do not always produce like really efficient responses or really efficient projects moving forward. So, going to Javier's point, I would really like the system to kind of like be able to do kind of pattern recognition on like what are the danger signs here we should know for like unclear language or
danger signs on the RFP side, and then they'll be using it to identify danger signs in our proposals.
Yeah.
Spectacular. Nora says, we'll reach the apex. We'll have reached the apex when AI procurement is purchasing from AI RFP responses. I endorse this.
Yeah.
Me personally, I endorse it.
Still, there are some factors I don't think are going to be, automated. Probably you could do that if in very commoditized markets, like, if you are buying, things, probably you can at some point do that. But for complex projects, you really want to make your experts involved. Like if you are building a nuclear plant or whatever, it's like important to keep people in the loop. So, but the thing is, the good. I think this is all good news. The good news is that the professionals of the future are gonna be like using their time better than now, because you're gonna free yourself from managing these manual tasks that are gonna be automated, and then you can focus on, okay, what's the strategy, what's the best solution to win this, like this idea of, for example, we're not touching that, but this idea of generating drafts to answer our RFP, like to start writing the proposal. So you could have like that idea of let's have this proposal draft at like a 7 out of 10 level, and then focus the people on getting up to the winning levels, like the 10 out of 10 level. And then you save all that time, but not not to just go home, but just to focus on the important things of the process. And everyone in the industry knows that we are not 100% of the time thinking creatively and doing things that only we can do. I mean, I myself as a freelance, I've been many times just doing something that wasn't efficient, like from formatting resumes to fighting with compliance matrices to many other things that are not that that smart or that clever.
Yeah, I'm hoping that these tools, and this is kind of what I'm seeing emerge in certain elements of the federal space. I am hoping this ultimately leads us more to kind of an activity-based procurement. We're seeing more people have to come in and do practice projects, for instance, so you can demonstrate how your team actually works together. And this is something that I've seen in there's a firm that I talked to recently that kind of comes in and like rescues projects that have gone off the rails in the federal IT space. And they are talking all the time about the fact that they have to go in and do these more intensive procurement efforts. And I think that reduces risks too, because just a document can show you some things, but it can't explain to you how you're actually going to interact with your customer service rep or how you're going to actually interact with that team if you're the buyer. So I'm hoping that this leads to something that is a little bit more reliable at helping us pick a good vendor in the end. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Ben.
No.
That's
It's you.
No.
We're the worst at handing off to each other. So I mean, we're 15 minutes away. We set an hour for this session. Javier, in the last 15 minutes, is there something that we haven't asked you that you were dying to talk about? Is there something either in the deep RFP space, or perhaps like that you just see in the AI world in general? Like you kind of teased out that you are part of a group of AI enthusiasts who are all kind of like shocked at all the stuff that's coming up. Like what do you wanna talk to us about that we didn't ask because we weren't smart enough?
Yeah. There is like I think it's important first to internalize for everyone, but especially for business leaders and people in charge of proposal functions at companies, that these capabilities are there. So next time you get an RP, think like, oh, this is step I'm completing right now. It's about understanding this text, copy this data here, and writing this or whatever. Maybe that's something, because it's so new that people haven't internalized that this is already feasible, technically feasible with computers. Like it's not something you think computers would do. So do that, and then you're gonna start seeing opportunities to improve. Like once you realize that, okay, this could be a computer doing this, and then with all these improvements, I only see a future where it's gonna be much more harder to win, because like if you get to all the brains that pros are now investing or wasting in other tasks that are not that creative and strategic, and you put that into how we win this win, what like only the important things, it's like it's gonna be harder to win, and everyone is gonna be like more prepared with more tools, with more data. It's a race, and this is the key message I would like to send, is that it's a race that is better if you start early. Like become familiar with the tools now, with what is happening, start using it, because there are opportunities to start saving time. And there are some companies like ours, of course, but other one also offering good solutions that can save you time right now, so you can start focusing that time on researching more tech or researching more data, or focusing on improving your whole process, instead of being like in the green every day, and do that as soon as possible. But because like the opportunity window is gonna close fast, because how the technology is evolving. And you don't want to be like in 10 years the one that didn't jump into this opportunity and still manage proposal like we do today, when your competitors have a huge database. They have trained their models on the market, on your market. They have your insights, everything you publish online anytime, all the proposals that you submitted to government agencies that can be disclosed through some of the laws in the different countries, and they have that that info and that intel. You're gonna be like in a very difficult situation, and I see that happening in many cases. And the thing is, we have already lived through times like this. We keep comparing this like the starting of the internet. Probably that's I don't know, maybe that's too bold, but it feels like that. It feels like we are in that point in time that the first movers are going to take huge advantage, and you don't need even to be like the best encyclopedia online or the best travel website online. You just need to be the first or one of the first, and then you start grabbing all that value. And then if you manage that well, you can be in a very good position in 5 years, 10 years. And the challenge here is that it's moving very quickly. So not moving now and waiting 5 years, I don't think it's an option for many companies. I'm talking now as from the business point of view. For professionals, it's, I think, I mean, do you really see like in 5 years that has value to be able to use these tools? Like isn't that going to improve your resume and your employability? Like if you are the one that manages all these tools and can prompt them well, and like it's time to learn and to embrace this technology. And the thing is, you can become a better proposal manager or a better proposal writer by using these tools, because you can basically these tools are intended for that. Humans plus technology are gonna trump over humans only, and only about technology. And we have seen this in other spaces already.
Yeah. And the humorous part is, it's funny that you mentioned that piece about like, will your resume be better if you understand this? I belong to a group of people who are in the engineering space, specifically physical engineering. And of course, they're talking about the idea that like, that from their point of view, like they don't see a reason why like AI prompt engineers won't be a thing, right? Like individuals who can try to communicate with data models and like really powerful ways to like pull out interesting insights or pull out interesting filters that will allow them to like provide really powerful use cases. So I saw that someone posted something in the comments.
Yeah, we've got a really great question here. Are we getting too hung up on ChatGPT specifically? Yeah, okay. We are absolutely focusing on ChatGPT because it's part of the common vernacular right now. Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you asked this, Nisa. Will Microsoft's implementation of the GPT model be more enterprise secure due to its relationships with IT departments? How long do you think we'll have to wait for mediated software experiences that incorporate GPT? Any thoughts? That's a pretty complicated question.
Yeah, let me read that. Nisa, thank you for the question.
Well, there we go.
If not, like I think a lot of the I think there are AI models that are really powerful, both in Google. Like Google fooled one of their engineers, right, into thinking that they actually
it was sentient, right?
Sentient, right? It's not like Meta doesn't have this as well. Like these exist, but like they're because they were much larger companies, there was a risk to them like presenting. OpenAI was a startup. It had a little bit more flexibility in presenting its model first, and it to go to Javier's first mover advantage, they really grabbed a lot of the like mental thought processes that we all consumed on this. So
yeah, like Kleenex instead of tissue, or Velcro instead of right. Like, although I think we're going to associate all this stuff with ChatGPT for a while, just because of the name.
For a while,
yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, Javier, what do you think?
Yeah, if like that's true. Like the access that Microsoft has to the enterprise environment, they have an advantage to start deploying these with IT concerns and cybersec concerns in mind. The only thing I see is that you need to start really. It's very important the part where you tune the model to do something specific. Otherwise, it's gonna be like providing too clunky results, and you will need to spend so much time reviewing those results that at the end of the day it's not a wise move. Like the same way that happens with some of the technology we have now, and then you need to increase your you need to create basically a function to manage the content library because you have that tool. So in order to avoid that happening, it's I think it's not Microsoft's role to develop those specific niche cases to develop, but for sure GPT seems to be not ChatGPT, but the GPT series seems to be very well positioned to be one of those few models that we have in the future. But again, in our case, in proposals for government, for B2B, whatever market you are in, the real value comes from personalization, for customization of those cases. Both the use cases of the models, and also if you have the resources to train your version of the model. Like as we said, with your proposals, with your IP, for your agencies, for your market. So I think that startups and other companies are going to play that role. I don't see Microsoft trying to develop one of these models for every industry, because that's much better to do. We have this startup in biotech, and we are developing the model that answers, that manages proposals in biotech, or that does anything in biotech, and that's much more. I think that's much more feasible.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
To me, it seems like we got to start training people on how to do this. I guess maybe Pi should think about. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to start thinking about training people on how to maybe.
Maybe we can partner with some of our.
I don't know. Maybe we could partner with some people in our sphere of influence.
Some AI experts in our community.
Yeah,
we'll be thinking about it.
That's something we can talk about.
With that in mind, what I do want to make sure everybody knows is that Javier has this amazing resource of a website, newsletters that are coming out every week. And Javier, you're also sharing information about jobs, right? Like potential roles in the community? And
yeah, anyone that joins the newsletter has access to everything I'm building into that environment. One thing is this, job board that basically screens out opportunities and selects only those that are, of course, we're talking about proposal roles, that are fully remote and that have salaries disclosed or estimated for companies that have high ratings, like plus
love
3.5 or 4. So you have like a filter already automated. So you go there and you're going to see only these fully remote positions with salary disclosed for good companies. That's one of the resources I'm offering there for free. And then the other resource is the compilation of GPT use cases that includes the view we have seen in this recording, which is for the pros, like for the professionals, like what you can do, like actually to do our job. And then there is another part of that same compilation that is thought to be used by business leaders, like where I think is the most valuable applications of this technology as a from the point of view of someone that needs to manage the proposal function for a company.
I love this.
Yeah, so I send 2 emails a week, one about proposals, like with proposals, things, tips, ideas that I have gained during all these years in proposals, and then one about proposal technology specifically. Like
Excellent.
yeah.
Honestly, I can't even remember when you launched it. Was it last year that you launched? And like it's become one of my weekly reads. So yeah, like it's an absolutely fabulous resource. So highly recommend. 2 thumbs up.
10 for 10. This is such an exciting topic. And I'm so glad that you all have joined us today. I absolutely love learning from the experts that are from our proposal industry experts. Selfishly, I'm so glad to have the chance to talk to folks like Javier and to Michelle Atkinson and to some of these other folks who are bringing this to the forefront. If you are not already following Javier on LinkedIn, if you're not subscribed to the website or subscribed to the newsletter, make sure you do that. Javier is also really active in our proposalindustryexperts.com platform, where we're more than happy to connect all of y'all who want to continue to have this conversation. I think it is so important and really delightful that we're able to be on the forefront of this technology and talking about why it matters. So